I've lived in my apartment for 3 years, and until recently, I never once felt unsafe. It's on the 12th floor of a modern building, with thick doors, strong locks, and security cameras covering every angle. I used to believe that nothing could reach me up there. On New Year's Eve, I learned how wrong my thinking was. I was supposed to be at a big party downtown. Everyone I knew was there, enjoying their life. Music blasting, drinks flowing, people already counting down to midnight hours early. I stayed for a while, but something felt off all night. Around 10:30 p.m., my phone vibrated in my pocket. It was a notification from my doorbell camera. At first, I almost ignored it. Motion alerts happen all the time because delivery drivers, neighbors walking past can trigger the doorbell camera, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the notification I got. My heart dropped because of what I saw. A man was standing directly in front of my apartment door. He wasn't knocking. He wasn't checking his phone. He wasn't even shifting his weight. He stood perfectly still. He was wearing a black tuxedo, polished shoes, and a cheap plastic Happy New Year top hat tilted slightly to one side. In his hand was a glass of champagne, with bubbles still rising in it. The worst part wasn't his outfit. It was the way he was staring straight into the camera lens, unblinking, as if he knew exactly where I was and that I was watching him. As I saw that the tension he was giving me was too unbearable and uncomfortable, I left the party immediately. The ride home felt endless. Every red light and every slow driver made my nerves tighten. I kept checking the camera feed, expecting him to be gone, but the screen showed nothing. Just an empty hallway. When I reached my floor, the hallway lights flickered softly. The carpet was undisturbed. No man, no footprints. My door was still locked. Everything was fully intact as the way I left them for the party. I went inside, locked the door, then locked it again. I engaged every bolt. Then I grabbed the largest kitchen knife I owned and sat on the couch, phone in hand, watching the camera feed like my life depended on it. Around 11:50 p.m., fireworks started going off outside, their light flashing through my windows. Cheers echoed from nearby buildings. Then my phone buzzed again. It shows movement detected. Living room. My stomach twisted because I was in the living room at that time. I slowly lifted my head and scanned the room. The TV was off. The curtains were still. Nothing was out of place. No footsteps. No breathing. No shadow. Then I looked back at my phone. On the screen, the man in the tuxedo was standing right behind my couch, close enough that I could see the texture of the fabric on his sleeve. He leaned forward, his face inches from the back of my head. I turned around and saw nothing. The space behind me was empty. That's when it hit me that he wasn't in my apartment. He was inside the camera feed. On my phone screen, he bent down slowly, raised the champagne glass, and whispered toward the microphone. Cheers. I felt something cold splash against the back of my neck. I gasped and jumped to my feet. My shirt was soaked. Champagne dripped down my collar and onto the floor. I didn't stop to think. I ran. I grabbed my coat and phone and bolted out of the apartment. I didn't take the elevator. I took the stairs, nearly falling twice. I ran until my lungs burned, until I reached the police station several blocks away to report. I never went back. Later, the police reviewed the footage from my security cameras. They didn't see a man. They saw me sitting alone on the couch, staring at my phone. Then, without warning, the champagne bottle on my table tipped over by itself and slowly poured its contents onto my head. No one could explain how. And now, every New Year's Eve, when my phone vibrates, I don't answer it. I'm still scared of the unknown man at the front of my door. People always say, New Year, new me. They talk about reinvention, about shedding the old version of themselves and stepping into something better. After what happened last night, those words make my stomach twist. It was December 31st. My friends were packed into a loud, crowded party downtown, but I was stuck at home with a brutal flu. My body ached, my head throbbed, and the house felt unnaturally quiet. Every now and then, holy fireworks cracked in the distance, dull and hollow, like something knocking from far away. Around 11:15 p.m., I dragged myself into the kitchen to make tea. I leaned against the counter, waiting for the kettle to boil the water I poured in, staring blankly at my reflection in the dark kitchen window. The glass was almost mirror-like, my pale face floating in the darkness beyond. That's when something felt wrong. I lifted my mug to take a sip, but my reflection didn't move. The version of me in the window stayed perfectly still, arms hanging at its sides, eyes locked on mine. My hand trembled midair. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Then my reflection slowly raised its hand. It wasn't holding a mug. It was pointing behind me. My heart slammed against my ribs as I spun around. The kitchen was empty. No movement. No sound except the kettle beginning to hiss. When I turned back, the reflection was copying me again. His eyes are wide-eyed, scared, shaking. I forced a laugh and blamed fever. Because fever can cause hallucinations and delirium. Anything but the truth. I hurried to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, gripping the sink until my hands stopped shaking. From the living room, the clock chimed 11:45. I looked up at the mirror. I blinked. My reflection didn't. Its eyes stayed wide, bloodshot, unblinking. Slowly, it leaned forward until its face pressed against the inside of the glass, as if the mirror were thin and soft. Almost time, it whispered. The voice didn't come from my mouth. It came from the mirror itself, dry and crackling, like leaves being crushed underfoot. I stumbled backward into the hallway, shouting that it wasn't real, that I was sick, but the fireworks outside were growing louder and now closer, more aggressive. Bang, bang, bang. I glanced at the framed photos lining the hallway. It consists of graduation, wedding and childhood birthdays photos. In every single one, my face had turned away from the camera. All of them were looking toward the same place. By 11:55, the neighborhood was alive with noise. Cheers, music, fireworks rattling the walls. I ran into my bedroom, slammed the door, and dove under the covers, clutching my phone like it could protect me. Then the clock ticked 11:58, 11:59. The countdown began outside. 10, 9, 8. My phone screen went black for a split second between notifications. In the dark reflection, I saw the ceiling above my bed. And then I saw it. The thing from the mirror was standing over me. It was taller than I am. Its arms were too long, its fingers hanging past its knees. Its face looked unfinished, like so stretched, warped, almost mine, like a bad copy that hadn't fully loaded. Then countdown of the clock reached 3, 2, 1. A loud shout of Happy New Year echoes outside. A firework exploded outside my window, flooding the room with red light. In that instant, the thing lunged. I didn't feel pain. I felt cold, like my body was being pulled inside out by a freezing wind. Suddenly, I was standing in darkness, crushed into a tight space. I tried to move, but my hands hit something smooth and solid. It's glass. I looked out and saw my bedroom. I saw myself sitting on the bed, but it wasn't me. The thing stretched its shoulders, smoothed its hair, and wiped sweat from its forehead like someone finishing a long race. It checked its reflection in the phone, then looked directly at me, trapped behind the glass. It smiled. New Year, it whispered. Its voice is perfectly clear. New me. It slid the phone into its pocket. Everything went black. So if you see me today, and I seem a little different, if my smile lasts a second too long, if my eyes don't blink when they should, don't say anything. Because I'm still here, watching from every mirror, every window, every screen, and when next New Year's Eve comes, I'll be waiting to trade places again. Which means my new self will take over the impersonator. Last New Year's Eve, I learned that time doesn't move forward the way we believe it does. It isn't a straight line, it's a loop. And sometimes, that loop glitches. I was standing in the middle of a massive street countdown downtown, packed shoulder to shoulder with thousands of people. Music was blasting from giant speakers. Lights swept over the crowd, and the air buzzed with excitement. Everyone was laughing, shouting, and already drunk on the promise of a fresh start. I remember smiling, thinking about resolutions I wouldn't keep, about how next year would somehow be different. Then it remained 3 seconds for 12 o'clock, which means we will enter New Year. I counted 3, 2, 1, but midnight never arrived. I checked the time and the clock hit 0. Then it kept going. -1, -2, -3. At first, I thought it was a visual glitch on the screen. Maybe a prank, something meant to mess with us. But the cheering stopped halfway through a breath. I saw everyone froze. Thousands of people stood perfectly still, their mouths open mid-shout, hands raised, confetti frozen in the air. It was like time had been paused, except for me. I'm the only one moving. The fireworks above us didn't explode. They hung in the sky like glowing stains of red and orange, refusing to fade. The music collapsed into a single, low humming tone that never changed, drilling straight into my head. I moved through the crowd, pushing past bodies that felt warm but lifeless. I waved my hand in front of faces to see if they will blink their eyes, but no blinking, no breathing. They just stood there like statues. I grabbed a woman's wrist and looked at her watch. The hands were spinning backwards so fast they blurred into a silver circle. Another man's phone screen showed the date rapidly counting down through years. I recognized and then years I didn't. I looked up at the massive LED screen over the square. The year 2024 was still displayed, but the numbers were melting. dripping into shapes that twisted into unfamiliar symbols. The longer I stared, the more my head hurt, like my brain wasn't meant to process them. Then a voice thundered from the speakers. It wasn't the DJ. It was deep, mechanical, and emotionless. It is so powerful, I felt it vibrating in my teeth and bones. Redundant year detected. Recycling current cycle. The voice said. The ground vanished beneath my feet. I fell, not through air, but through static. Flashes of white noise, broken images, fragments of past moments flashing and tearing apart. Birthdays, arguments, random days I had forgotten. All of it shredding like corrupted files. Then a sharp pain and a sharp slap crossed my face. Hey, wake up, it's almost midnight. I gasped and opened my eyes. I was back in the crowd. The noise, the music, the laughter. My friends were beside me, counting down again like nothing had happened. They counted from 5, 4, 3. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I stared at their faces, searching for any sign of what I'd just seen. That's when I noticed their eyes. They weren't eyes anymore. They were tiny digital counters, glowing faintly, ticking down toward 0. Happy New Year. Everyone screamed. Confetti fell. Fireworks exploded. Time surged forward. I looked down at my hands. The edges of my skin were pixelating, breaking apart into tiny squares that flickered in and out of existence. I could feel myself losing resolution, like I didn't fully belong in this moment anymore. I'm writing this now because I don't think I ever crossed into the next year. I think I'm stuck between cycles and I'm being filed away, unfinished. And as the countdown echoes again in my head, I can feel it happening once more. The clock is about to hit 0, but I'm thinking this is my imagination, or I'm being drunk, which causes hallucination. But I'm sure of what I'm saying. I know it feels hard to believe me, but trust me, I'm telling you what I experienced.